guys, we've reached that time where Cobra Kai has reached its end. And, now it's over. It's the end. But is it? Because, we've talked about for a long time that spin-offs were on the way. Now, we're going to do this review very differently. This review will just be for Part 3. We will do rankings for the episodes of all of Season 6 as well as all 3 parts very soon. But for right now, I just want you guys to know my thoughts on the end of the show, Part 3. So episode 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So the first section of Part 3 review will be just on my non-spoiler thoughts, but then we're doing this mullet style. So review in the front, spoilers in the back. So review. Overall, I absolutely adore Part 3. It is the best part of all of Season 6. The part we needed. The writers stick the landing. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. And I cried like a bitch. Like in a good way, though, because it was so emotional, and this journey was beautiful. Every single issue I had with each of the characters in the previous parts was answered in a beautiful end. But there also are standouts that we need to address. The standout performances in Part 3 are Tanner Buchanan is beautiful and incredible as Robbie Keane in this final part. His arc, well, some people might not get what they asked for or desired. I found it very rewarding and amazing, and to see what he has been fighting for so long be accomplished the way that he wants, and the fact that he can grow beyond a trophy was beautiful in my opinion. The next ones are Martin Kove. He has been known as the classic 80s villain for this entire series and the Karate Kid films. Here he escalates to what it means to be an anti-hero or a mentor to a lot of people, and you see him really take his grief. What happened to Quan, spoilers for Part 2, literally brings him to this amazing arc, full circle, like making amends with everyone and pulling him to his final showdown with his friend, long-term rival, and it's beautiful. So I love Martin Kove's performance. Also, we got to talk about, even though it's not the highlight, we got to talk about Terrence, Thomas Ian Griff. This was the best performance Thomas Ian Griff has given as Terry Silver. We saw him at his lowest point. We saw him as full-on crazy, and he really did have nothing to lose. You felt that. You felt the pain. I mean, there's a scene where he's with Ralph Macchio and Billy in Daniel's house where you just feel what he's dealing with. And we kind of had a little bit of a Green Goblin arc on him where he comes down to feel like he's not going all in, and then he went all in, full-born villain. When I mean full-born villain, I mean full-on James Bond level villain, like the classic mustache-twirling villain we love. But speaking of mustache-twirling villain, we got to talk about, and this will be when, in a minute, we'll be getting into spoiler territory, so we won't dive too much into this, but if you expected a lot of Master Kim in Part 3, lower your expectations, temper them severely, but also we'll get to that in the spoiler section. But for right now, what I will tell you of definitely in this part is in performances. So not only Tanner Buchanan, not only Martin Kove and Thomas Ian Griff as Silver, but also Peyton List did a wonderful, beautiful job as Tori Nichols, and her arc is amazing. You see everything that she has lost and everything she has to gain, and she finally gets the win that she deserves. And if you guys are fans of Peyton List, I'm going to be binging School Spirit, and I will be getting reviews for it once I finish it. So I hope that you guys are looking forward to that, because I am really excited to see more of Peyton's career. And of course, also another standout, well, it's not the standout that people are crazy, we'll talk more about in the spoilers. I also think that both Mary Mauser, people have a lot of hate for Sam LaRusso, but I love Sam LaRusso in Part 3. My fiance had said that this part made her feel like Sam was her favorite character, and that was beautiful because Sam is an amazing character, and I thought they did an amazing job with her. And so I really feel like that was beautiful. And I love her arc. I think what her training Tori was brilliant, like I predicted, and I loved it. And so the other people that we've got to thank most of all for this show, the best performances are, I just love what they did with, I just love what they did with Ralph Macchio, and we're going to talk about him in a minute because we can't really talk about him without getting into spoiler territory, but Ralph Macchio's arc being completed, his acting was amazing. But the standout of Part 3, without a doubt, and we're going to talk about, there's two standouts. There's one acting standout, and one of the things which we'll talk more details about. I love that we got something I've wanted for in this show in a long time. But before we get to that, let's talk about the big thing here, okay? So coming into full circle here, we get the best performance we've ever gotten from any. Part 3 gives us the best performance we've ever gotten from these actors. And honestly, after just seeing Captain America Brave New World, it's wild that an MCU movie with a $600 or $1,600 million budget, $100 million budgets, all these crazy movie budgets couldn't compare to the greatness of Cobra Kai, which we'll talk about Brave New World in my next video. But just to tell you this, it's just brilliant with this. And the biggest thing that I love is, my God, William Zabka needs to get an Emmy for Part 3 this year. Because there's a scene with him and Kreese, Martin Kove and him, where they hug and they embrace. And you get this most amazing moment that is just beautiful. I was crying all the way through episode 13, which we'll talk about in the individual episodes in a minute. But it was just beautiful. These performances are mind-blowing. And I loved all of them. Now, that being said, performances aside, now, also we got to talk about some spoiler territory. So first thing we got to talk about is Dimitri. Okay, Dimitri, everyone knows with Dimitri that I did not like this character in Part 2 and Part 1, and I had a lot of issues with him. One of the beautiful things about Part 3 is we take things so full circle here that we literally fix so many errors I had with the previous parts. And one of the most beautiful things of this was Dimitri's redeemed in this part. Not only does he reunite with his binary brother, they joke around the MIT stuff. Moon saves the whole MIT stuff. We're all annoying with it. Moon was making fun of Dimitri. And then we get the unexpected. Yasmin comes back to Dimitri, and it was beautiful. And I loved it. So Dimitri gets the most improved award, for sure. And I really enjoyed that. The other thing I want to talk about before we get full spoiler territory is, let's talk about Sensei Wolf, guys. Alright, and we'll do this without spoilers and we'll dive really deep into it. Is Sensei Wolf, man. Louis Tan, Silver, Kreese, and Master Kim ain't shit compared to Sensei Wolf or Fang Yao. I believe his name was, or Fang Zhao, I think. But we'll just call him Sensei Wolf. Sensei Wolf was amazing. Finally, I thought the final villain of the show would be Master Kim, and we'll talk about that in the spoiler section in just a minute. But one of the things that I just love about this is Sensei Wolf was the darker version of Kreese and Silver rolled into one, and he's cruel, he's merciless, and there's so much to love about this. I mean, this portrayal, I hope we see more of Wolf in the future, and they do leave it open-ended for that, which we'll talk about when we get into the full spoiler section. But, literally, I love how dangerous Wolf is. I love how ruthless he is. Louis Tan's acting, some of these scenes with him, even just talking to Axel, talking to Silver, the way he looks at people as an actor with his eyes, brilliant. He's not just a good martial artist and a pretty face, he's an incredible actor, and I love it. With that being said, let's move into the spoiler section. So we came out episode 11, right after the tournament had ended, and we kick off with the funeral for Quan, and Master Kim has decided that we will still fight in the tournament and Yoon will be trained. And, Kreese and Kim Da-eun are on board with this. Then Master Kim decides to bring us with a new technique. He decides to go and full out make Kim Da-eun and Yoon do something that nearly kills all their teammates. There's a new move. I don't know what they call it, but it's a new technique where it's basically more dangerous than the silver bullet, and it kills. And then later in the episode, which we'll get to more, so we kind of jump back and forth between Korea and other things. Then we go back to the Valley. We see so many things happen in the Valley. We see Daniel back at LaRusso Auto, and we get to see, he's really struggling. He's depressed about Miyagi. He's depressed about the tournament. It goes crazy, and you see so much. And we see Silver finds Gunther at his spot and tries to convince him to make sure the tournament goes back on. But when he does that, you have to get all the senseis back on board. So they call the senseis while everyone's going through their struggles. We find out Sam, even though Daniel's pushing her to go to UCLA, Sam doesn't want it. Sam learned in Barcelona that she wants to go somewhere else. She wants to travel very far. She wants to go to Okinawa to honor both Mr. Miyagi and what she's just always wanted to go there. And I think that that's brilliant. I love that in her arc. It's beautiful. So this scene's pretty interesting. Amanda gets to see that side of her. Love that side. Amanda kind of basically being harassed by Vanessa is pretty funny. I love Vanessa really getting under her skin, and I thought it was hilarious. I love the scenes we got with her and Anush and all the characters. I mean, she's fantastic. I love those little moments. The teen stuff in this scene is really good. And then when it comes to bringing the tournament back on, you get the call. Daniel says no to the offer because he's not down with it being back on. He says they need to move forward and get ready for their LaRusso Auto dealership little party. But Johnny is insistent on it happening. And then Johnny gets connected into a little almost a test drive, and Silver is trying to get Daniel on board because he finds out from Gunther that the tournament won't happen if Daniel doesn't, change his mind. Everyone else is on board, as far as we know of, but Daniel. And so Silver makes his plan, kind of kidnap Johnny through a test drive, and they talk, and then eventually Johnny tells Daniel, "Do you trust me?" and brings Silver to Daniel's house. And we find out that Silver is sick, which we've known for a while. And then all of a sudden, they discuss it, and then Daniel and Johnny after Soda leaves, discuss that if they can beat him, that the kids want this. Well, the tournament's back on. And so then we have this big party, and a lot of stuff happens. It's beautiful. We find out the tournament's back on. We kick into we end episode 11 with basically after a pep talk, after Kreese stands up to Master Kim and says, "We're not going to go to the tournament." Master Kim says, "That's not your decision," and he makes him give the Anjo the knife back to him. And then we see Kim Da-eun make a choice to kill Master Kim. Master Kim does fight back, and Master Kim does have several Palpatine vibes that I think is great about this part. But Master Kim is killed by the same move that he wanted Kim Da-eun to learn, because what this ends up being about is who should run this Dojang. And it ends up being Kim Da-eun, which is one of my new favorite characters. So I'm very proud of her. I'm glad this is accomplished. While I liked Master Kim, that 100-year-old bastard needed to go. And I'm glad he's out. It's part of the Way of the Fist philosophy, getting rid of that, and I thought that was brilliant. Love that episode. The ending of it really starts things off in a unique way. Then we enter episode 12, and the tournament's getting ready to resume. We're getting ready to train at Miyagi-Do, getting fully ready for it. The kids get to enjoy the training, while the adults are kind of stepping back. After Chosen relieves a letter, sees a letter from Kimiko, find out that she's moved on. He's really struggling and wants to go watch his Storage Wars, and so then Amanda and Dana realize they can't go wine tasting alone, so they drag him with them on a date with Moon's mom, whereas Moon's getting ready to go to college. So that is really beautiful. And then Chosen and her have a good back and forth. They don't necessarily date anymore, but she helps Chosen find the balance he needs to realize he needs to go find Kim Da-eun, which I love that scene. I love the camaraderie. Like we've talked about before in the earlier parts, no Julie Pierce in this part, which is fine, but apparently Hilary Swank said no, so that's on her. But What I do understand about this is that I love the storytelling. I love the fight scenes, the choreography in this part. We're going to talk more about it in 13, but it's brilliant and it's beautiful, and I loved it. So then episode 12, as we go through it more, we train. Daniel teaches Robbie the tornado kick, so he's ready to fight Axel. We see Robbie struggle throughout both episodes with Axel, and the idea of what that means, and we're prepping him for his big fight, so he can be a Sekataka world champion. In episode 11, we learned that Robbie, was being told the tournament didn't resume, that his college options were limited, and could have been stuck in the same box that Johnny was by the beginning of season 1. And that didn't sit well with the family. And then in episode 12, which is directed by William Zabka, not only do we get ready for the tournament, but near the end of the episode, Johnny agrees, after having a pep talk with Bobby and getting God's blessing, he goes and agrees to meet with... He goes and then he goes and runs a suit and goes and proposes to Carmen. But before he can properly propose to her, her water breaks, and now she's having baby Laura. But before all that happened, we have to go back a little ways, because we also missed one other storyline where the kids are training for the tournament. Sam and Tori go to the All Valley arena to train together. Earlier in the episode, Gunther has his confrontation with the All Valley board, saying what the Sekataka is going to be like here, and that he's in charge. And when Daryl kind of resists him, they get into a fight, and Gunther kicks him in the jaw, which is awesome. But then going back, so the kids are training. Tori we have amazing, once again, Peyton's acting is incredible. Tori really struggles with everything that's happening, and she goes and just mind-blown, flabbergasted, all these things that are happening. Just, it comes to a head, and it leads to some crazy places. And so, then Sam and her, after a pep talk, she realizes, Tori's biggest fear is if she goes back to Cobra Kai, that no one's going to, she's going to lose all her friends and her boyfriend. But once Sam gives her an amazing pep talk and tells her, you're not going to, no matter what dojo you're in, we will always support you, which was awesome. I love how the kids are getting great moments. And thanks to Dimitri and Eli's new technology, we got to see Miguel and Robbie spar together. But this time, Robbie sees Miguel as Axel, and it's very different. It's a very different experience. So a lot goes on in this episode. Kreese is coming to make amends, do all the things he does, and then we end this episode with Laura being born. Beautiful moment. Johnny and Daniel getting married in the hospital because they couldn't do it in the apartment, and it is amazing. The scene with Yaya and Johnny was beautiful. I love all this stuff. Baby Laura's a beautiful name. And then we had in episode 13, the tournament resumes, and we start our match with Robbie and Axel. This is some of the finest martial arts this show has ever done. You go from, before we even get to the tournament, we got his backspace. Remember I mentioned about Martin Cove's performance? We get an amazing scene with William Zabka and Martin Cove, where Johnny and Kreese are talking in front of the van, and Kreese apologizes for what happened in the valley. He apologizes for the time that he choked him out in Karate Kid 1 and Miyagi saved him. And at first Johnny kind of brushes it off, doesn't think much of it, but as time moves forward, we get an even better scene later. But then as the episode moves forward, we get ready for Johnny, we get ready for Axel versus Robbie. And in this showdown, Axel and Robbie starts just kicking Axel's ass. It's brilliant. The martial arts display on display. He's like the Ip Man, full on pure defense, landing strike after strike. After a pep talk for Daniel, he really turns up the heat. But as Robbie is kicking Axel's ass, Silver and Wolf push Axel into Winter Soldier mode, and unfortunately Robbie gets his knee snapped. But we did get a beautiful scene with him talking to Daniel, which we absolutely needed, and I loved it. Daniel has a lot of good scenes in this part, but this part was really, really good with that. And then, as you move forward, after that, now things become personal. Miguel gets ready to fully want to get revenge on Axel, but Chosen holds him back. And then, right as things start going full circle now, we see things in the tournament heat up, but Sam doesn't want to fight, so Miyagi-Do is eliminated, so new plans must be formed. And so then, towards the end of the episode, Daniel has a talk with Sam about everything, and Sam tells him she doesn't think she wants to go to the tournament. And after Daniel is so off balance, he goes outside and remembers every pain he's felt as he's sanding the floor, and some metaphorical skeletons, because this episode is called Skeletons, attack him. But while he's being attacked, you see Mr. Miyagi, used by CGI, is brought to life. And a lot of people are complaining about this scene. I don't know how you're complaining about this scene. This scene was beautiful. Mr. Miyagi and Daniel doing the wheel technique against the skeletons is one of the most beautiful scenes, and they brought Daniel full circle and became his own sensei in his own right, is beautiful, and I love it. I loved every minute of this scene. Seeing Mr. Miyagi in Cobra Kai for one final time, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, and I couldn't be happier. Then, you head into that, and we move forward into the biggest thing that could ever possibly imagine. We get an amazing scene between Johnny after everything that Daniel wants to give up, and Miyagi-Do doesn't want to fight. Johnny's pissed off because he wants to continue this tournament. He's after a really big talk with Robbie, they couldn't heal him because he can't continue his fight against Axel. Miyagi-Do's eliminated because Sam won't fight. And so then we had an amazing moment where Johnny and Kreese talk, and William Zabka has his best scene in the entire show, where he goes to Kreese and gets all mad at him for the past, and then Kreese basically says, I don't deserve forgiveness, all these things, that just beautiful acting. And then William Zabka gets mad at him, and just purely amazing acting and tears and just all rolled into one. It was a brilliant scene. I was tearing up every minute. I was emotional throughout this episode from everything. But this moment really powered through with the emotions, and it was beautiful. And this scene will always be one of my favorites. I need William Zabka to get an Emmy for this part specifically, but specifically for this episode, because it was beautiful. And we end this episode with, basically, guys, Kreese can help Johnny, and what happens is Cobra Kai is going to return for the tournament. So we're fighting as Cobra Kai instead of Miyagi-Do, and our champions are Miguel and Tori that are going to be fighting, but Johnny's going to be the sensei. And so then we see at the tournament, Silver and Wolf are pissed. Wolf says that's bullshit, and Silver says, and Wolf says, how can that be possible? But basically, Terry says, well, they're former Cobra Kai, which is exactly what happens. And then we kick off into the next moment, and right as everything happens, this amazing moment happens where not only during that scene, but when they enter the tournament to get ready for this, because before we get to them entering the tournament, we got to speed up, because now we're entering episode 14. And we kick off episode 14 with our kids all training. Daniel takes Johnny to the Cobra Kai dojo and tells him that, hey... One second, guys. Johnny takes Daniel to the Cobra Kai dojo, and they bow to each other, and he tells him that, he paid his dues, basically, for him, so he can run Cobra Kai. And so he trains Tori and Miguel, where we all started. Everything, pad strikes, kicks, punches. All the kids from Miyagi-Do that are in Cobra Kai, Sam's in Cobra Kai, they're all here to fight and train our champions. And it's brilliant. It's beautiful, it's brilliant. I loved every minute of it. And then we also see Iron Dragon's training. Silver gets in there with Wolf, and they hit Axel with sticks, and we see sparring, we see Zara going crazy, and we're getting truly ready for these final fights. And it just gets insane. And so as that moves forward, we move forward. We enter the tournament. And as we enter the tournament, we get an amazing moment where Cobra Kai enters and comes out the tournament, epic with smoke and everything, and you hear the amazing song by AC/DC, which John was wearing an AC/DC shirt in the earlier episodes to foreshadow this. Just like in season 1 when Aisha said, We can't use the rights to that song because it will cost too much. Johnny said, I own it in my cassette. We hear Thunderstruck as Cobra Kai enters the tournament. And the final matches are decided to be Axel Kovacevic versus Miguel Diaz. And Tori versus Zara. So you get Tori versus Zara. And it's one of the most amazing fights ever. Peyton was the worst, worked her ass off. Raina is an incredible combative. And she proves it through this fight, getting in Tori's head, like, in every way possible. But Tori goes the distance. She knows what she's fighting for in her heart. And she just goes after a pep talk from Robbie, both saying that he loves her and saying show no fucking mercy, which is one of my favorite Robbie quotes ever. We get to see Robbie Keane just absolutely. We get to see Tori Nichols and Robbie Keane as a team. It's amazing. And then Tori powers through and fulfills her promise from part 2, knocks Zara's teeth out on that mat, and these two just have an insane battle. Kicks for kicks, blows for blows, just insanity. These fights in part 3 are nuts. We got Daniel and Miyagi doing the wheel technique. We got Robbie versus Axel, and even though Robbie lost, he gave it his all, and it was beautiful. And then we got this amazing fight with Zara and Tori. Like, both girls trained hard. And I love Peyton List. She has such a bright future ahead of her. What she did in this show, not only acting, but martial arts wise, is incredible. I mean, this girl was a Disney Channel star, guys. And she didn't know anything about karate when she came over here. But she's a badass, guys. And I love it. And she earns her title. And she didn't have any other girl matches to fight after that. So she is now the girls' champion. She gets her trophy. It's amazing. Well, not her trophy yet, but she gets nominated as the girls' one. Now it's time for the boys' match. And now we get the greatest teen match of all time. We get a drink for this one because this is going to be crazy. Miguel Diaz. Well, before this happened, like at the Cobra Kai dojo, we had an amazing moment with Johnny and Miguel talking about, how this time you do this, it's not about revenge. It needs to be about, balance and everything. Because even though Johnny's in Cobra Kai, he's added a Miyagi-Do flavor to him, and it's beautiful. I love the Miguel and Johnny scenes we got this part. It's beautiful. Sorry about that, guys. Now, back at the tournament, we head forward, and we get ready for the biggest team fight ever. Miguel lands the first point against Axel, and they just have an intense battle. Blow for blow, and after Silver and Wolf really egg him on, you see Axel go all in, but Miguel is better. After Miguel gains a couple points, Axel jumps into full Winter Soldier mode, just like with Robbie, but even worse. And he knocks Miguel flat on his ass. Miguel goes has his time to go over to his senseis, talks about Johnny and Daniel. Johnny gives him the pep talk to take everything you've ever done, man, and go all in. And this time when he goes, and he reminds him, who are you? You're Cobra Kai. Takes off the Sekai Taigai captain headband and puts on, just like yours truly, his Cobra Kai. Johnny gives him his headband to wear. And this time, after Miguel was whooping ass in the first round, this time Miguel goes all in. He gives the best 2 minutes of karate any teen in this show has ever given for this tournament fight. You see Miguel Diaz go all in. Every lesson, every failure rolled into 2 minutes of karate. Every move, from when he was kicking the boards in the dojo, from when he was wanting to kick in the water in season 1, pure kicks for kicks on Axel. He lands every move, even doing the move he does to get up when Kyler beat him up. When he has his spine broken, even though Wolf is willing to nearly injure Miguel even worse than Robbie by messing with his spine, Axel won't do it. Axel doesn't want to fight the way that Silver and Wolf wants. He thinks he's strong enough to beat him alone. Miguel is a true champion. He powers through everything, lands all the moves of his past time, defeats Axel with a flurry of different moves, and finishes it with a beautiful fucking flying tornado. And then Miguel is crowned boys champion. Axel has a conversation with Wolf and Silver, and Axel tells Wolf that he has nothing to do with them, walks away, now it's just Iron Dragons, our big boys. But now a new twist has been added. Even though Miguel and Tori are granted the champions for their individual divisions, for the whole dojo, the points tie up. So now we need to set up a tiebreaker match. And now it's, for the first time ever, it's the senseis battling it. Also, I forgot to mention that Daryl Vidal is one of the new refs in Part 3, which is pretty awesome. If you don't know, Daryl Vidal's actor actually played Mr. Miyagi, did a lot of his stunts in the old Karate Kid films. But now as we move forward, so now Johnny prepares for his toughest battle yet, going after Wolf. Before that, we gotta get some insane training prep work. But before that, after losing the tournament, Silver loses his absolute fucking mind. Goes back to his yacht. We see Dennis, and Dennis goes, and he literally doesn't. We find out that he burned down Mike Bond's stores for Silver. He can do anything his sensei wants, and so he tells him take the car and go kidnap Carmen and the baby, which is just insane. Before that can happen, Dennis goes upstairs, and Silver is shocked to find out that somebody has killed Dennis. And my only nitpick at this part is I wish that we didn't see I wish we didn't see Dennis's death off screen, but I still think it's badass that when we go upstairs, it was Kreese. And we've been building this battle since Season 4, guys. On this yacht, we don't just get the fight we've been promised. Well, we don't get the swords like we wanted. We get an incredible fight between Silver and Kreese, where Silver tries to use a bottle as his weapon, but Kreese takes out Silver's eye with a cigarette. And it's amazing, this fight. Kicks, punches, blow for blows, amazing. And then it ends with a explosive level ending, where basically the only way these two guys can go out is Mission Impossible style, Arrow Season 5 style. Just like Adrian Chase and Oliver, we get to see Silver and Kreese kill each other by Kreese sets off the explosion from the gas on the boat. The yacht blows up, and that's the end of Silver and Kreese. Two warriors killed. Brilliant ending. I mean, I couldn't believe it. It was insane. That's the end of episode 14. We pick up episode 15 with Johnny training at the Cobra Kai dojo. Well, after we start basically with Johnny getting ready for his big fight and holding Laura, after Carmen wants to take a shower, and telling her, while also holding, of course, Banquet, hey, Daddy's got a big fight. See, Daddy Lawrence is amazing. I love how Johnny's used as a father here. But even before that stuff happens, earlier in the episode, we see Johnny's arc. We learn a little bit about the Applebee's history. I hope we get more in the future. We find out amazing stuff. And so then Johnny goes, and what we see next is, as we get ready, Johnny is now getting ready, training with Chosen and Daniel for the fight against Wolf. And Johnny is he's learning lots of strikes. We get to see him practice flying tornadoes, but he's off balance because he doesn't know how to deal with an opponent like this. He's remembering the beating that Wolf laid on him. He's never been hit as hard by someone like Wolf. So he's met his match, and he's getting psyched out. But Daniel tells him to balance him, and we hear the best around, and they go train, and they train the crane kick together. It's beautiful. They run a marathon together, pure amazingness. And then, while we get ready for the tournament to resume for the final fight, all the Cobra Kais come in. We even get all our favorite students coming to support Johnny for the final match. But before that happens, we get the resolution of Dimitri and Moon, which is great. We find out earlier in the episode, I forgot to mention that both Binary Bros are going to Caltech, which is awesome. But not even that. Now we get the most amazing moment ever, which is Tori and Robbie. They saw a sponsor recruiter saw what they did out there, and she wants to hire them as demonstration and promoters, fighting for the same dojos together, side by side, taking photo shoots, doing awesome karate, and it's a beautiful ending for the two of them. being side by side on the same team. It's something I've wanted for a long time. So I'm satisfied with Robbie and Tori's ending. The fact they ended up together makes me happy, and we need a Robbie and Tori spinoff as soon as possible. So then that storyline goes on, and we get ready for Johnny to face off with Wolf. And before it can happen, Wolf comes in to just prove that he is the greatest villain in all of Cobra Kai and messes up Johnny bad, telling him about, what we've all been talking about since the beginning of the show. This episode is titled X-Degenerate because he's no longer the Ace Degenerate, he's the X-Degenerate. He is terrified after Wolf fights him, so that after Wolf slams him up against the lockers and threatens him, and then they go and do their fight, and it's a beautiful, the most amazing choreography display I've ever seen of martial arts on this show. You see Johnny goes all in fighting Wolf, but Wolf is just too strong, giving Johnny hell. But then later in the match, all it took was a proper pep talk from Daniel, and Daniel has his most amazing scene in the show yet, where Daniel says, "What dojo are you fighting for?" Johnny says, "Cobra Kai." And he says, "Well, that dojo has no fear." And I'm sure as shit that pain doesn't exist in that dojo either. And then he says, "So you stop being a little pussy and get out there and kick his and kick his ass, right? Like maybe kick the living shit out of him, basically, like Mike Barnes." So Mike Barnes increased full level. Beautiful scene for Daniel. Love it. Love him coaching him. Johnny and Daniel's relationship with this part was beautiful and was so special. And I'm looking forward to seeing it blossom even further in the future. So then we get that moment, and it's amazing. The fight continues. Johnny and Wolf are doing blow for blow, both landing points, but Johnny goes all in, starts really landing points, and he ends it with, for the final point, Johnny lands a spinning back fist instead of the crane kick like the leaks had said, which was amazing. I love this fight. I love what it represents for Johnny. I love that. Now Johnny, Tori, and Miguel are world champions. Cobra Kai wins the tournament. Beautiful storylines for both Tori and Robbie's future. And then, after the tournament, even though we got to see even Daniel and everyone in Cobra Kai gis, Daniel and Johnny share the trophy. Cobra Kai is reopened with new students. Stingray opens a new location as a sensei, which is awesome. Johnny runs his dojo, but also his students train at Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai, which is amazing. So he set Daniel up for Karate Kid Legends. He's still at Miyagi-Do. They're expanding different dojos, and that's going to set up beautifully for the movie, which I can't wait for. And then, things go even crazier. Because not only do we get that amazing moment, then we see Miguel and Sam's moment after she had got a necklace from Grim Lucille. We've got the Miyagi storyline complete. We see a scene where Sam says goodbye to everyone and she's ready to go to Okinawa, but Miguel chooses to make sure Stanford waits so she can go with them. So now a Miguel and Sam movie is in the works, or at least a show. We need it. I want to see these two go into Okinawa. I think Axel could join. I'm going to be talking about spin-offs for a long time, guys, because the ending of this finale sets up so many of them. And then we still have a few more scenes to go before this beautiful finale ends. Then as those two go off together, with the Binary Brothers get their own car, they go off together to Caltech. And then we see Chosen goes to Korea to find Kim Na-eun, and now they're going to run Korean Cobra Kai. So we need to get a spin-off for Kim Na-eun and Chosen. I would love to see it. We didn't do a lot with Chosen in this part, and I think it would be amazing to get to see this part fully, to see this happen in the future. So they set up all these great spin-offs. Johnny and Daniel both have their own thing going on. It's amazing. All our characters get happy endings. And it's beautiful. The music this part was beautiful. The action was phenomenal. The emotions were dialed up to 11. The acting just was at another level. Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 3 features some of the best episodes of Cobra Kai we've ever gotten. Episode 13, 14, and 15 are my favorite episodes of the show. And I'll be completely honest with you guys. Cobra Kai Part 3 is not only one of the best Cobra Kai storylines we've ever gotten, it, bar none, round kicks the shit out of everyone. Like, I mean, it is insane, guys. This show is a spinning hook kick in the face, and it is amazing. We are now so excited for the future, guys. Cobra Kai is doing us so many amazing things. So make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. My score for Cobra Kai Part 3 is 10 out of 10, guys. Love this ending. So remember, hit that like, share, and subscribe, and strike first, strike hard, and show this channel no mercy. Have a great day.